Okay, so child, we back legally everywhere we would. We looking into everything. And guess what? We have another Project 25 alignment. We in fact have another Project 25 alignment. So let me just pull up this article so y'all can start to see. I'm about to actually read from my computer so you can see it too. Hold up. In the words of Lion King, oh goody. There's a lot that's going on with this right here. Okay, let's start looking at the article. Okay, so instead of giving y'all a whole bunch of screenshots, I'm just gonna read it directly from online. But here's the crazy thing, right? I'm gonna move sideways. Let me move out the way. You see the how it says he repealed, basically saying that greenhouse emissions essentially wouldn't be dangerous to humans. I don't know. Did they spend like the last 2 decades saying it probably was? And then about a decade ago saying that that was something that needs to be put into law. And now all of a sudden you're like, oh no, it's not a thing. Don't you worry about that. Don't worry about those emissions. That's not harmful to the human body. No, of course not, right? The exact language in the article states, under the process just completed by the EPA, we are officially terminating the so-called endangerment finding, a disastrous Obama-era policy that was severely damaged the American auto industry and drove up prices for American consumers, Trump said, saying it was the biggest deregulatory action in U.S. history. Okay. They said this flawed legal theory took the agency outside the scope of its statutory authority in multiple respects, right? Let's go down. Actually, I'm going to probably do a whole nother video where I break all this stuff down because I just want to show y'all. I just really want y'all to see. Where's this other part I want y'all to see? Come on now. I know technology want to do what it want to do. Child. They have some other thing called a public nuance action. A pathway that's being blocked following a 2011 Supreme Court ruling for GHG regulation should be left in the hands of the Environmental Protection Agency instead of the courts. This may be another classic case where overreach by the Trump administration comes back to bite it, says Robert of the University of Maryland environmental law professor. So there's already some discussion. We already have some referencing to the Clear Air Act. Now, keeping in mind, when they talk about this greenhouse emission that also encapsulates electronic cars, but once again, what cars? So the automotive. So let me show you just a little bit of mapping I did quickly because I know y'all don't like long videos. So let me go ahead and make this as quick as possible. Let me show you some actions I've already mapped thus far before this even went into effect. Now, mind you, this was earlier today. So here's some Project 25 adjacent material. You tell me what you think. Quick little look. This was some things that Congress had essentially disapproved, right? Under this current administration, right? And mind you, a lot of this is actually more so focused in on California, more specifically for 3 of them. But I just wanted to go ahead and show you that because I'm about to show you. Okay. These are some things that were proposed in Project 25 and then the actions that Congress took. Now, let's go look at the executive actions. This is where it gets fun. I know some of y'all hate the camera flip, but I think it's best if we do it this way. Right? Because doesn't this line up pretty good with what was being proposed? Because it's right there. Establish a significant emission rate for greenhouse. Back up. Gases, right? This is executive action. I'm telling you exactly what page to go look at it because we were talking about one specific page in the book. Here are some of the completed actions attempted and proposed prior to this article going out. Right? Prior to. I told you your girl been over here mapping things. Got some other stuff that we mapping relevant to this topic. So just as a quick, like a little recap, right? What's important about this article, right? It represents a little bit more than I think people understand. it's not just about regulatory tweaking, right? It's a structural shift in like how federal governments interpret its authority, right? Because we've been having that conversation a lot about authority. It's shaping how government interprets its authority over greenhouse gas emissions, and that's pretty significant, right? The 2009 endangerment finding, which we kind of referenced, that was talked about in this article, also saw referenced in Project 25 that I showed you, right? That 2009 endangerment finding has been the legal foundation for vehicle emission standards and broader climate regulation under what was called the Clean Air Act, which what I also referenced. Just very briefly want to let you know that's in this article. So if you're interested, you go check this article out. But if that foundation is considered or being reconsidered, or let's say narrowed, it doesn't just affect one rule, right? It affects the government's ability to regulate emissions across multiple sectors. Because we can't deny this isn't just the cars itself, it's also electric cars, it's also like the greenhouse places, also the power you have a lot of places that would be affected by this act being changed, or the interpretation of it being changed, okay? So the broader impact isn't like immediate chaos, not like whole full-blown hysteria like a lot of the other news has been. It's a potential redefinition of federal climate authority, and that shift would likely move into the courts and create uncertainty for industries planning long-term investments, which is a concern, right? And it changes how states like California interact with federal standards. Because what I showed you in that other link, we saw how Congress had already disapproved certain things recently within this administration, right? So in other words, this is about governance. What? Because y'all know how I feel about that. This is a governance structure. This is about the governance structure and asking who has authority. How is it interpreted? And like how durable climate policy really kind of is. And you know me, I'm always curious, like under what authority, like how is it permitted, right? So then I just want to make the element of Project 25 like just a little bit clearer, I guess. Like, I know I don't have so much time, but like what's interesting from like a governance perspective, as I'm kind of like pulling all this stuff together, it's always posture for me. Like, it's the approach, right? Because including reconsidering this endangerment finding, which seems to be a big point of discussion as I've been just muddling through. Once again, this is discussed in Project 25. There's a whole chapter, right? It's a whole freaking chapter. I want to say it's chapter 13. The EPA chapter. So, like, in a follow-up, because I feel like I want to actually show you each one line by line, because people swear up and down. They're like, oh, Project 25, what is this, baby? Where? How? I didn't give y'all a static of the book. I didn't show you stuff, but we're going to work with this, right? I'm going to show you the language that shows up in the chapter and compare it with the actions that I've been able to map it to. And we're going to just look, right? I'm not talking about any side, or I'm just talking about as a constituent. I'm looking in, I'm trying to figure out what's going on, who giving what authority, and what's going to be the longitudinal impacts of certain things, right? Just a quick reference. I wanted to say that it was page 2, was it 54 or 45? You know what? Don't worry about it. We'll look at that in the next video. But I want to say it is page 425 in chapter 13 of Project 25. But I'm going to see you in the next video, and we're going to work through all that. This is Legally Everywhere. We're what? We're Legally Everywhere, looking into everything. And my baby, what I came with them receipts. Don't say I didn't. This is Ruth's article from today. You see it. And I'll see you in the next video.